One of the most fascinating forts in India is the fort of Jinji. There may not have been a major battle fought here ever, but it has been a witness, uninterrupted witness, for 1,500 years of ebbs and tides of history. Once it was a Pallava fortification, then came the Cholas, Pandyas, the Nayakars. It has a close association with the kingdoms of Bijapur and Golconda. Then came the Mughals and the Marathas. Then the fort fell into the hands of the French, and then finally the British.
The fort of Jinji is situated 120 kilometers away from Chennai in the Villupuram District of Tamil Nadu. As a matter of fact, this is not one fort, but a complex of 3 forts that have protected the town of Jinji and adjacent areas. Towering 900 feet above the flat ground, the main citadel is considered a fine example of a Giridurg or a rock fort mentioned in canons of traditional Hindu architecture.
Actually, in South India, the history and its destiny changed with the fall of Vijayanagara rulers in the Battle of Talikota in 1565. After that, southern India, particularly the deep south, was being divided into different Naikdoms. And Jinji was the center of a Naikdom, the Naiks of Jinji.
Jinji was part of the Vijayanagar Empire, and during that period, its governorship was entrusted to Krishna Nayak. It was he who built the fort called Rajgiri on the highest hill. His successors ruled here for 200 years and built dozens of beautiful pavilions, palaces, and temples. They patronized arts, literature, and music. After the defeat of Vijayanagar, it was annexed to the Bahmani Sultanate.
In ancient Indian books dealing with fort architecture, many types of forts are described. Among them are sea forts, rock forts. And among rock forts, the pride of place is always given to the fort at Jinji. As you can see, the fort is perched atop a hill which is almost 900 feet high, is surrounded by dense forest. Its natural defences are almost impregnable, and man has added to these by embellishing it with fortifications which can't be easily pierced. There are rows and rows of ramparts, steep steps leading up to the fort, sharp turns right angled, and of course watchtowers where from the enemy can be watched over.
Nature has generously contributed to the defences of Jinji. It was very difficult to approach the fort, which was built on top of a steep hill. The walls were built on top of thick rocks. The winding path leading up was full of obstacles. The narrow gates on this road were designed to slow down the invader.
One is the economic importance of the region, the other is the political control. These are the two important reasons why a citadel of that nature was required at the hilltops. And hilltops were considered to be the safe centers at a time where Guns or gunpowders were not in use. Arrows or lance or spears could not break such kind of structures and fortresses built on the top of hills.
After climbing some 900 odd steps, with 200 more to go, huffing and panting, we reach what may be termed the entrance to the citadel of the fort of Jinji. And here, when the invader reached in past, he was confronted by these steep steps which lead on to the drawbridge over a moat. And when the drawbridge was lifted back, what faced the invader was a deep chasm-like moat which could not be easily crossed.
The moment you reach the top, you encounter a variety of buildings. One is a granary, then there are many open pavilions, and there is a beautiful temple. Normally, only a small garrison of soldiers was posted here. The royal family retreated here only in times of crisis. Some buildings were erected when the fort was occupied by Europeans. One of them is the watchtower.
At long last, we have reached the highest point of Gingee Fort. One gets the feeling here that one is standing at the top of the world. There is a clear, unobstructed view, 360 degrees around you. How could an invader creep up these hills under these circumstances? This is the reason this fort was considered impregnable. Shivaji, the great warrior, a great builder of forts and conqueror of them, himself admitted that this is a fort most difficult to assault in the whole land, and the British compared it as the Troy of India.
A long and thick wall protected Jinji. In days gone by, a rampart girdled 3 hills and enclosed the whole city and agricultural fields. Parallel ramparts served as a strong armor. The last row of tall ramparts gives the impression that they have grown organically from the rocks.
It was a one city. There are so many hillocks come under the city. So many bazaars will be there, so many streets will be there. The concept of constructing a fortified city, connecting the hillocks and rugged areas, so that that area will be easy to defend. That idea comes from the Vijayanagara rulers.
Several gates provided access to the fortified city of Jinji. Amongst these, the Pondicherry Gate and Vellore Gate are prominent. The road passing through the gates suddenly turns into a sharp right-angled bend, and the way ahead is blocked by a thick wall. Excellent examples of South Indian sculptures adorn the platforms along the walls.
Vijayanagar Empire soon established its supremacy over entire South India. The Vijayanagar rulers themselves have improved on the fortifications and added their own buildings, especially most probably the Kalyana Mahal as well as the temples that were built there. Because you can see definitely the style of the Vijayanagar Nayak there. Now when he was ruling, and his son Krishna Nayaka also, they made a name for themselves by their donations to various charitable causes and maintaining the temple.
Narayana Sriman Narayana Sriman Narayana Sripadame Sharanam Sriman Narayana Sriman Narayana Sriman Narayana Sripadame Sharanam Sriman Narayana Sriman Narayana Sriman Narayana Sripadame Sharanam Sriman Narayana Kamala
Venkatraman Temple that stands near the Pondicherry Gate was built by the Nayaks in the 17th century.
Kamalekshana Kamala
There are many temples in Jinji, and most of them are dedicated to the worship of Vishnu.
Kamalekshana
The grandest of these is the Venkatraman Temple.
Karuna Kamala Shri Kamalanavani Pada Kamala
Built in the southern style, it has tall gopurams. It has a natmandap and pillars that are beautifully decorated.
Navani Pada Kamala Me Charanam Shri
The French carried many of the pillars with them to Pondicherry during their occupation.
Narayana Sripadame
The stone panels by the side of the main entrance depict characters and scenes from the Ramayana and Mahabharata. The fort of Jinji has had to endure many assaults in its long life, yet this temple has managed to survive. Surely, the local community has played a significant role in preserving it.
Paramayo
Like many other temples in South India, the Venkatraman Temple too has served as a seat of culture and learning. Even today, when classical dancers perform in the courtyard, memories are revived of the glorious days this fort has seen.
Paramatma Paramanu Rupa Shri Paramatma Paramanu Rupa Shri
Excavations have revealed many interesting facts about this fort.
Paramatma
Before excavating this royal enclosure, we had already excavated royal enclosure at Vijayanagara, that is Hampi, belonging to the main rulers. So we wanted to know the difference between a provincial capital and the royal enclosure in the capital city. There is very good comparison between the real royal citadel and the provincial capital citadel.
Kalyan Mandap, a 5-storied building with a miniature pyramid perched on the top, was built for recreation. It is quite unique and reflects the same blend of Hindu and Islamic architectural styles that is a characteristic feature of buildings in Bijapur.
Jinji always attracted all the rulers around. That is why the vicissitude of Jinji, seeing so many dynasties coming and occupying, is very, very visible. You will find that now Golconda sultans were interested and they started holding Jinji for a short time. And when, especially in the 16th and 17th centuries, Mir Jumla was sent to the south. He conquered Jinji and it was under his control.
The riches of Jinji tempted Aurangzeb. His commander Mir Jumla finally subdued the fort after a long siege lasting 7 years. Gingee Fort, an integral part of the Gingee Fort, is situated to the north of Rajgiri, on the way to the pilgrimage of Annamalai. It is built on top of a 500-foot high hill. Though the fortifications here are not as strong as that as Rajgiri, it still presents quite a formidable challenge. Here too, one can see a variety of buildings, a granary, a court pavilion, residential apartments and more. There is a happy coexistence of Hindu and Islamic architectural styles. Shivaji conquered the fort in 1677 and Jinji served as the southern stronghold of the Marathas for the next 20 years. This was the base from where they mounted guerrilla raids to harass the Mughals.
Shivaji had great political foresight. He relied on forts. He built a series of forts in order to protect himself, and Aurangzeb never managed till his death to got hold of Maharashtra because of the forts built by Shivaji. Chenji came under the control of the Marathas in 1677. And Shivaji was the one who really made it a very strong, impregnable fort as we see it today. Covering the entire 3 hills with walls and using the natural defense system of the mountains too. And seeing that there was a military quarters for the people to train, as well as numerous temples which were there were also protected by him.
The Ranganath Swami temple is at the top of the Krishnagiri hill. This was built as the shrine where the ruler could offer personal worship. Though small in size, it is quite attractive. One can see the same type of open pavilion here as the one at the Venkatraman temple.
Here you can see the construction, the arrangements, the ideas, everything Vijayanagara. So later on, rulers have changed some things, constructed some structures, modified some structures, that goes on. But the basic is Vijayanagara.
It is remarkable that these temples were not harmed or demolished by the Muslim rulers. They strove to maintain communal harmony.
Numerous attempts made by Zulfikar Khan under the Mughals ended in a failure, and the Marathas, true to their nature, indulged in the guerrilla warfare and completely cut off the army of the Mughals from getting supplies. What happened is in 1697, under Zulfikar Khan, once again a huge army with a lot of preparations and experience came, and they did capture Jinji.
The Maratha chieftain Shivaji sought refuge at Jinji when he was harassed by Aurangzeb. The Mughal commander Zulfikar laid siege to the fort, and though Shivaji managed to escape, the Mughals occupied the fort. Terukuttu is a popular folk art form in Tamil Nadu. These artists narrate the history of the Gingee Fort in a fascinating manner. They entertain the audience in an engrossing, thought-provoking manner, mixing historical anecdotes with satirical comments on contemporary events. They ask, many kings have come and gone. They made countless palaces here. Has this made any difference to our lives? Our lot has remained unchanged.
அனைவரும் இந்த தெருக்கூத்து கலையை தான் நம்பி இந்த கலையில் உங்களுக்கு குறை என்பதை நீங்கள் இல்லையா?
There are many beautiful pavilions in the Krishnagiri compound, built by different rulers according to their taste. That is the reason we encounter not one, but many architectural styles here. New structures have come up on top of existing ones as a fresh layer, ensuring that the old building remains intact and isn't defaced or damaged.
Several dynasties or several generations or king after king or this, that and the other, and all those have brought in elements, and therefore you have such a plurality of styles, architectural styles. The fort itself enacts a plurality of styles, and then this is taken further. Within the fort you will have different styles.
The pluralism displayed in the buildings at Jinji was the hallmark of its social life. At different places, the buildings in Jinji reflect the influence of Vijayanagar, the Delhi Sultanate, or Maratha architecture. A dramatic tug of war was taking place in southern India between contending European powers in the middle of the 18th century. Fortunes fluctuated sharply, but finally the British vanquished the French and they occupied Jinji. With this began a period of neglect. Slowly, beautiful buildings crumbled to ruins. The fort has played a decisive role in the history of our nation. It is a priceless gem of our heritage.